Welcome to the Land House YouTube channel. I'm Seth. This is my lower studio where I have an off-grid solar system that runs some studio lights and has various receptacles around here. Well, I am looking to improve this system so that I can do more reviews on products for my Tools, Tech, and Gear channel. And what's happening is I have to disconnect my main solar setup in order to charge up a battery or test a new inverter, and it's just a bit of a pain to have to turn off the studio lights while I work on some other kind of electronic device. And so what I've done is I've wired up more solar panels outside, and that's where this red and black cable is going to here. So the plan for this video is to simply move my system right here and put it up top over here, and that will give me all this space to work with for wiring up new systems for testing out inverters and testing out charge controllers and batteries. And so in this video, I'm basically just going to move all of this up here into this space, and I'll be able to have a battery up there and it will free up my floor space. So we may also do some cable management. All right, if you're interested in that, then continue watching. First things first, whenever I disconnect this system, my lights aren't going to work. So I've got a power station over here, and I've got this 200 watt LED panel. And so I'm going to turn on this power station, turn on the AC down here, plug this up. Now we have more than enough light to work with. And so I can step up here to my studio lights, turn these off. Move this off to the side here. So now I can access everything down here and move everything over and still have some light to work. Okay, my inverter is turned off. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the solar coming in from outside. Give that just a moment to finish. And then I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the charge controller. Okay, so everything is off right now. I can go ahead and disconnect my battery. Oops. Now that I have the solar off, the charge controller off, I'm going to go ahead and remove this front cover here because the cable that I used on this is a battery cable, and it's a bit bulky for the system I have. So I'm going to go ahead and make a custom cable here that will not be so long. In order to do that, I just need to remove these screws here and get to that. Tell you what, these stink bugs get everywhere. All right, so now I can remove these two wires down here. So I guess those are 4 gauge, but they are just way too big for this system. All right, so I just need to remove the black one on this because the red one is over here on this one. So go ahead and pull this out. So there's a battery cable coming out of this right here, and I was using that to attach my inverter to, which is not ideal. So I'm going to remove the case here on this switch and swap it over for a different cable. All right, see if I can remove this cable over here. I used a socket set to tighten this down, so I don't know if I'll be able to loosen it up here with just some pliers. Got it. All right, let's make a cable real quick. The YouTube channel Workbench Z sent over this cutting tool and crimping tool so I can make these custom cables. Very grateful for that. I have put it to use, so I'll have a link to that channel in the description down below if you want to check out his work. But yeah, so I just use these wire cutters to remove the sheathing, something like that. And then this piece right here fits over the end. And then I use this crimping tool here. Piece right here just goes into the end of that. All right, after crimping the end, I use my little heater to put some shrink wrap on here. Time to finish up this, so my new cable can be reattached in here. Just going to reattach this, and it should be good to go. It's worked out really well before, so I think I'm going to keep this design here. Now I am going to have to use a different solar panel outside because the cord I have here, or the wire I have here, is not long enough. So we'll go ahead and loosen that and remove this out of my system here. Hopefully it's time to remove this now. Let me see how it's going to do. Yep, I think it's going to work out here. If I can get this in here. Move this on up. Just going to find a place where all of this makes sense up here. Get the board reinstalled. I got everything moved over here. It took a bit longer than I was anticipating. So now I need to go out to the solar panels and connect the 500 watts, because one of these is going to be a 100 watt and one of them will be a 500 watt. And I'll have to use a multimeter to figure out which one is which. So, all right, let's leave this here for a moment and we'll be back in just a bit. I have 500 watts of solar here on the hill. Need to connect these MC4s. So got the black to black here for the negative. Okay, and then you need to grab this one over here. Yeah, this is the positive for this panel. Let's go ahead and get them connected. There we go. And now we can go back into the studio and figure out which of those wires connects to this panel. One set of these wires should have a voltage around 60 volts, I think. So let me see here. If I go to this one, to this one. All right, 66 volts between those two. Should be nothing here. Yeah, millivolts, millivolts. So yeah, this is our red wire we need, and down here, so we're gonna need this one right here is the black one, and this one right here is our red one. Okay, let's get the black wire of the solar back up here to the Midnight Classic. And so this is solar input here. This red wire fell out of here earlier, so I'm just going to connect it back here. Now the solar from outside, I think I'm going to try to sneak up behind this piece of wood. I'm going to get the cover to the Midnight Classic back on again. It's taken a lot longer than I anticipated to move all of this, but I think we're ready for the battery. Go ahead and pick up this 200 amp hour lithium iron phosphate. Get this swung into place here. Now I'm going to be using a lithium iron phosphate battery with a heater inside for the winter time, but I haven't finished reviewing that yet. So for now, I've just got this one, which should be just fine. So I need to hook up the blacks here on the negative. Before I hook up the inverter, I'm going to take this little resistor, touch in here, touch that, and that's just going to let it charge up slowly instead of zapping all at once. And then I can get this installed. Looks like my cable system is just long enough. And after a couple of hours of work, it's finally time to get this system back up and running here. So let me go ahead and flip on the charge controller. We will let that boot up here. Once it's ready, we'll turn on the solar, and then lastly the inverter, and see if all of our lights are back up and running. Classic is ready. Let's go ahead and flip on some solar. All right, we got 13 or 14 watts coming in, 90, 180, nice. So, all right, we've definitely got some power coming in, which means that the solar panels are working. The wire is correctly installed. So now, let's go ahead and flip on the inverter and get our lights back on in here. All right, let me flip this switch. And there we go. Studio lights back up and running. If you were asking what's the point of all of this, getting all of my electronics for powering the shed over here, it basically just opens up this whole wall so that I can put in a couple of other breakers, which I've got here, And I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to put those, but I'll bring those, the 100 watt panel and the other 500 watts up here, and I'll have a couple of breakers. And then I'm going to have a little system over here that will allow me to interchange components. So let's say I'm testing out a new inverter. I can just pull one off, put a new one on, and be good to go. But I'd like to have a setup where I can charge batteries for testing. I can do charge controllers, I can do inverters, and the camera battery died on me, but I'm back. So basically, subscribe if you want to watch the next part in this little series. I'm going to be installing some testing equipment over here so that I can have a charge controller set up and permanent. I'll have an inverter permanent, and then also have a battery over here so I can easily access that. So that whether I get a battery, an inverter, or a charge controller, I can test those out here and have them all ready to go and won't have to touch that system anymore. So that's basically what we did here. This video was kind of scattered. I apologize for that. Hopefully the next one will be much more straightforward. I'm Seth with Land the House, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.